Let me welcome you on behalf of the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, UkraineInvest, Embassy of Ukraine in Canada, Embassy of Canada in Ukraine, and Canadian Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce to our today's webinar on investment opportunities for Canadian companies in Ukraine. We all know about opportunities that Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement gives us, but today we want to discuss some new opportunities that we have in the investment area, in particular, what we can offer with the new legislation recently adopted in Ukraine on public and private partnership, on investment parks, on the state support for investment projects. And I'm very happy that we count today with a number of participants from different agencies and with a lot of companies, both from Ukraine and from Canada. So I hope that we will have a very fruitful discussion today with us. And taking into account that we have a number of speakers in different sessions, I would propose you to start and probably not to wait anymore. And we will start with the welcome words. And I give the floor to Andriy Blakhatnyuk, Ambassador of Ukraine to Canada. Andriy, the floor is yours. You're the first to welcome us today.
Good morning, dear friends. Can you hear me well?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, let us start. So, most heartfelt greetings from Ottawa, distinguished guests and participants of today's webinar on investment opportunities for Canadian companies in Ukraine. It's my profound honor and pleasure to welcome you all today. Let me start by thanking the UkraineInvest, Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce, Embassy of Canada in Ukraine, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and all other contributors for co-organizing this event together with Embassy of Ukraine in Canada. I would like to draw your attention to a few numbers. Since February 2022, more than 700,000 new entrepreneurs have registered businesses in Ukraine. In my opinion, it's a signal of extraordinary resilience and solidarity. In under 30 minutes, a private entrepreneur can register a new business online through Ukraine government portal DIA. It's happening every day. Foreign companies which decided to stay in Ukraine since 2022 are growing. A few of them to mention in this regard. Nestlé has reopened its factories and warehouses in central and western Ukraine and recently announced new investments. H&M from Sweden has also restarted its business activities in Ukraine. Canadian company Fairfax increased its share in Ukrainian agricultural assets. Coca-Cola and Bayer are continuing and expanding their businesses in Ukraine. And you will hear their stories today. And definitely there are many more companies who have reopened their offices and continue to invest and continue to cooperate with Ukrainian counterparts. These are not exceptions. These are clear signals. Signals that Ukraine is investable, adaptable, and open for business. Canada has been a steadfast partner for Ukraine, from military and political humanitarian assistance to diplomatic leadership. Now we are entering a new phase, the phase of recovery and reconstruction. The recent announcement about the possible appointment of Krista Freeland as Canada's special representative on the reconstruction of Ukraine marks a clear shift in this policy. It reflects Canada's intention to help Ukraine rebuild better, with Canadian expertise, capital, and innovation at the table. Dear friends, Ukraine became the biggest construction site in Europe. The total cost of reconstruction in recovery in Ukraine as of today is more than 524 billion United States dollars over the next decade. We need modern infrastructure in different sectors like oil and gas, nuclear and renewable energy, critical minerals, food and agriculture, as well as medical and educational facilities and housing, to name a few. We sincerely hope that Canadian companies will help rebuild Ukraine with their investments good advice, expertise, and technologies. The Embassy of Ukraine in Canada stands ready to support Canadian companies and Ukrainian companies as well to connect between each other. So I wish you all a very good event with good deliverables, and I encourage the participants to ask tough questions and consider how your business can be part of this historic recovery effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We'll have a part for Q&A a little bit afterwards, but yes, we already have some tough questions for our today's participants, so you're quite right. And I'm honored to give the floor to Mr. Pavlo Kartashov, Deputy Minister of Economy, Environment and Agriculture of Ukraine. Pavlo, please.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and pleasure to address you today, and I thank you for all the partners for supporting this workshop. Canada is not only a close ally of Ukraine, but it's also a key economic partner, and our message today is very clear. Ukraine is investable now. Latest RDNA by World Bank and our government puts the total cost of Ukraine's recovery at $524 billion over the next 10 years. Despite the war, Ukraine's economy, just give me 1 sec. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes. Now not again.
Okay. Something with my phone. Despite the war, Ukraine's economy is stable and growing. Between January and July 2025, GDP increased by nearly 1%, driven by domestic demand, international support, exports, and stabilization of the energy sector. When we talk about private sector projects, our ministry, in cooperation with CUCC Institute, has created an investment portal, a unique platform with more than 300 private sector projects worth over $40 billion, covering 11 priority sectors: energy, logistics, real estate, manufacturing, agro, transport, and many, many others. At the same time, Ukraine is building strategic industries. We hold 7% of global titanium reserves, 1,500 tons of lithium, and 20% of the world graphite. These are vital for aerospace, defense, and electric vehicle supply chains in Europe. Dobro lithium tender, one of Europe's 3 largest, has already attracted major investors. Our approach is practical: joint ventures, offtake agreements, local processing, backed by guarantees. As you know, in August, Kyivstar, a major telecom operator, was listed on NASDAQ with valuation of $2.3 billion, raising over $200 million. This is a strong market signal. International investors see Ukraine as bankable. More listings will follow. Furthermore, Ukraine is actively integrating with EU, and over the next 5-7 years, it aims to be a full EU member. This is significant because Ukraine already has a free trade agreement with EU, which provides access to one of the largest and most stable markets in the world. Additionally, Ukraine is positioning itself to be an integral part of the EU supply chains, particularly in sectors such as critical minerals and energy. Our defense sector is something very exclusive. We estimated at the point $15 billion by 2025, and it's around 7% of GDP. We now produce artillery, drones, ammunition, and advanced systems at scale. More than 500 drone manufacturers are active, with capacity of up to 4 million units annually. Finally, the Ukrainian government has introduced incentive programs to encourage foreign investment, including special economic zones, industrial parks, and programs designed to foster the development of the tech sector. These initiatives offer tax breaks, simplified regulation, and many, many others. Just recently, last week, there was a defense tech rally in Lviv, which gathered around 5,000 to 6,000 people, and it was announced commitment up to $100 million of further investments. The Made in Ukraine initiative is also helping to promote the country's industrial output abroad, ensuring that products manufactured in Ukraine are recognized for their quality. Just to conclude, we invite Canadian companies to learn more about the opportunities here and take part in Ukraine's reconstruction, to explore projects and to connect and stay with Ukrainian partners. Thank you so much and enjoy today's event. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. And I want to pass the floor now to the representative of the Canadian Embassy in Ukraine, in particular to Ada Rodriguez, Senior Trade Commissioner. Ada, please, the floor is yours. Ada, are you with us? I see Ada.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Good afternoon, all. Dear webinar participants and organizers, it is a pleasure for me to welcome you to this event today. Thank you to the staff and members of UkraineInvest and the Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce, the Embassy of Ukraine to Canada for organizing this event and for all their ongoing efforts to promote Ukraine as a destination for investment and business opportunities. Thank you also to those Canadian representatives that are here today. As you will hear from other speakers, Ukraine present and future rebuilding presents significant investment opportunities across multiple sectors. I hope that today's webinar will provide you with the information, the insights, data you need to better inform your decision making. I want to leave you with 2 key points. Now is the time to invest in Ukraine. Don't wait for the war to be over, as most of the opportunities for investment will become vastly competitive post-war. Those companies who are first movers can capitalize on Ukraine's market potential. If after listening to this webinar, you need further help to determine whether investing in Ukraine makes sense for you, UkraineInvest, the Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce, and the Embassy's Trade Commissioner Service are all possible options for further support. Please don't hesitate to reach out to them and request assistance. Thank you, and wishing you an insightful and productive webinar.
Thank you, Ada Luz, for your kind words and your call to our investors not to wait until the war is over. We fully share your point of view. And now I want to give the floor to Alexander Melnichenko, Acting Executive Director of UkraineInvest, who organized and gathered all of us here today. Alexander.
Thank you. Dear participants and colleagues, I would like to sincerely thank the Embassy of Canada, the Embassy of Ukraine in Canada, and the Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce for their contribution to the organization and support of this event. I am confident that Canadian businesses can play an important role in Ukraine's economic recovery. The prospects for Canadian investment and substantial, particularly in energy, construction, agriculture, and healthcare. Ukraine has established a comprehensive system to support and protect foreign investors. This includes the law of state support for investment projects with significant investments, as well as institutions such as UkraineInvest, which provides foreign investors with free assistance in preparing documents, including applications and feasibility studies. On this basis, investors may conclude a special investment agreement with the government of Ukraine and receive up to 30% reimbursement of capital expenditures. This instrument has been fully operational since April 2024. And we already have the first successful cases. 4 special investment agreements have been signed. One of such cases is represented today by the company Astata, whose representative is taking part in our webinar. At present, UkraineInvest is supporting 38 investment projects with a total value exceeding 3 billion euros. Clear evidence of the effectiveness of Ukraine's system for investor support and protection. This proves that Russia's war has not prevented investment into Ukraine. Moreover, reliable instruments for insuring foreign investments risks are already in place, including those of DFC, MIGA, and Export Credit Agency of Ukraine, IRIX and IFC. Today, Ukraine offers wide-ranging opportunities for investments in energy, infrastructure, manufacturing, agriculture, automotive, healthcare, and IT. In addition, Ukraine plays a troubleshooting role in supporting investors, helping to promptly resolve challenges. To this end, we work closely with the Prosecutor General's Office, the Business Ombudsman Council, represented here today by Mr. Roman Vashchuk, as well as with local authorities. Today's webinar provides an opportunity to familiars, companies interested in Ukraine with our investment legislation and its practical application. UkraineInvest is open to cooperation and ready to become your reliable partner in implementing investment plans in Ukraine. Start investing in Ukraine today. Thank you for your attention.
To our participants. And now we will pass to our panel discussions on different topics. We'll start with the state investment incentives of Ukraine, and I want to ask all of our speakers to be on time with your 8 minutes limit that we discussed. And I also want to say to all our other participants that we will have Q&A sessions. But just in case we cannot discuss all of your questions which would be raised today, please be assured that those of you who have registered your question in your form when you filled in, all your questions will be answered in written, if not discussed in oral today. And now I want to pass the floor to the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine, but we'll probably double check whether it will be Marina Khlistun, Head of Department of Investment Attraction, or Katerina Polyakova, Senior Expert on Investments from our Report Support Team. So who will present?
Dear colleagues, good day. I'm Marina Khlistun, but unfortunately I'm about to board the plane due to the urgent trip. So the presentation is going to be made by Katerina Polyakova. We greatly appreciate UkraineInvest and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Canadian Embassy and business community for arranging this useful workshop. Katerina Polyakova will be able to present our current framework for the investment and FDI strategy. Thank you.
Great. In that case, we'll place the floor to Katerina, who will present us Ukraine's strategic outlook for investment and investment opportunities in Ukraine. Katerina?
Yes, greetings, everyone. For the sake of keeping on time, just as Kira asked, I will be highlighting the key facts from our presentation, and we'll distribute the presentation later on so that you can study it later. Can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you. So we'll start with the overview of key trends of Ukrainian economy at the moment. I'd like to emphasize the fact that Ukraine was able to preserve macroeconomic stability despite the challenging situation in the past few years. In fact, in 2024, the real GDP in Ukraine expanded by 2.9%, and the forecast of the Ministry of the Economy for 2025 is 2.6% growth of the GDP for the year. Currently, we have solid results for the first half of the year with 1.3 GDP growth in 2025. As for the inflation, the 2025 results for the 6 months were at 14% inflation, yet the National Bank of Ukraine is targeting 10% inflation by year end in 25, and the target for 26 is 6.6% of inflation growth. Next slide, please. The next slide is about recent investment activity, which we would like to highlight for you at the beginning of this discussion. So despite the current war-related and security challenges, we do see some good signs in investor activity, both from domestic investors and also from international investors in Ukraine. This table, we selected some noteworthy deals for you to review, and I will highlight several of the deals presented here. Some deals are targeting vertical integration, and these are transactions by domestic investors. We have a large retail operator company, Rush, which works in the format of drugstore retail chain and food retail chain, which acquired a household detergent producer on a privatization auction in a deal over $13 million. And in parallel, they acquired a large logistics hub outside Kyiv with a total square footage of over 100 square meters. Also, we have some foreign investor interest in logistics in Ukraine. There were interesting deals with two major logistics operators from Europe, which acquired controlling stakes in Ukrainian logistics terminals this year. And lastly, but not least important, is a public placement of a major telecom operator, Kyivstar, which took place on NASDAQ in August, and which allowed to raise the company over $200 million of investments, and the company capitalization was around 2.3 billion at the date of placement. It is also worthwhile to mention that this company, Kyivstar, has earlier in this year acquired a major Ukrainian ride-hailing application, Uklon, for the value of $133 million, which also shows strong confidence of domestic investors in the economy and their readiness to invest. Next slide, please. With the next several slides, I will present the FDI strategy development in Ukraine and the goals for the strategy. Ukraine is committed to becoming a reliable, dynamic investment destination. And by leveraging foreign direct investments, the government of Ukraine wants to drive resilience, rapid recovery, and long-term growth of the Ukrainian economy. Currently, Ukraine is finalizing its foreign direct investment strategy for the next few years, which is a comprehensive document developed jointly with our partners from the World Bank Group, Tony Blair Institute, and other international partners. And in the next slides, we will give you some highlights from that framework, which is now being finalized. Next slide, please. Ukraine is building a resilient EU integrated economy and intends to channel foreign direct investments into selected high impact sectors. These sectors are construction, strategy, IT, transport, agri-food, and advanced manufacturing. With the involvement and support of our North American and European partners, these investments will accelerate reconstruction, green transition, and global value chain integration of the Ukrainian economy, and at the same time presenting and preserving and generating new jobs and stronger industrial linkages of the Ukrainian economy. Next slide, please. The implementation of the strategy will be based on the detailed roadmap for its development, with clear action plan, timelines, and strong coordination mechanisms between all involved stakeholders. These steps, which its previews involve performance monitoring, feedback loops, and active public-private dialogue. The implementation roadmap will be based on three main pillars designed to address and support investment interests and investor concerns. The first pillar is de-risking, which will be done with insurance instruments, guarantees, legal protections, and resilience measures. The second pillar is oriented at reforming of the Ukrainian economy and legislative framework to improve competition, privatization, auctions and action plan, regulatory clarity, and necessary judicial reforms. And the third pillar is about catalyzing investments through investment promotion agency, targeted incentives, supplier development, and development of the Ukrainian workforce and reinforcing of human capital. All these pillars together will create de-risking instruments for the investments and support the business environment and to maximize economic returns. The next slide, please. Based on our evaluation of the current investment projects, we see investment projects for the total value of over $300 billion in the next 10 years to be ready for the implementation of Ukraine, or for the implementation in Ukraine. These projects have been collected at the investment portal. I will talk about it in a minute. Yet this figure is very tangible, and as you can see, the project pipeline is broken down into sectors. The by far leading sector is energy. We evaluate the total investment projects available in the energy sector over $160 billion. Transport and logistics is the second most capital-intensive sector, which requires around $50 billion of investments, and agriculture projects have total value of over $30 billion of investors. The main growth drivers for these developments will be infrastructure rebuilding, green transition, and the demand for critical raw materials. In this pipeline of the projects, we selected both public and private projects. So these figures include projects across both main sectors. Next slide, please. And here we give a short introduction to the main product, which was developed recently by the Ministry of the Economy in cooperation with Kyiv School of Economics Institute, which is investment portal. This is actually the platform where you have all the projects that I just mentioned collected in one huge pipeline, if you wish. You can sort projects by sector, by type of investment, and that's the tool that we offer for our investors and partners considering entering Ukraine to start researching opportunities and looking at the already prepared projects. The projects on this website are pre-selected by the team of Kyiv School of Economics Institute, and these are actual real-life projects which are currently in the process of searching for funding and investors. Next slide, please. Here you have QR codes for accessing of the investment portal, and I invite our participants to explore this portal, and if you have any questions about projects, you can contact either colleagues from the portal or the investment attraction department. With this, I am finished with my slides. In case there are any questions, I'm happy to take them now or later on. I hope I managed to be on time.
Thank you, Katerina. We'll take questions a little bit later, and now we'll pass to Katerina Brohoda, Senior Expert of the Legal and Regulatory Policy Department of UkraineInvest, who will tell us about investment incentives for foreign business and different opportunities which we have in Ukraine. Katerina, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Okay. First and foremost, I'm very pleased to take part in this webinar. And today I would like to briefly outline the procedure of obtaining state support for implementing investment projects with significant investments. And also, I would like to cover other state incentives for investors. So, regarding the significant investments, the mechanism is as follows. If the respective project and investor meet the requirements stipulated by law, special law, the state, represented by the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine, enters into a special investment agreement with such an investor. As was mentioned by Alexander Minichenko before. And accordingly, the investor receives state support during the implementation of the investment project. Such state support is provided in the amount of 30% of the planned amount of investments. And it's worth to note, by significant investments, we mean investments in key sectors of state's activities. For example, it's processing industry, waste management, transport, logistics, healthcare, R&D project, and etc. And such investments should exceed 12 million euros. Now, let's go through the key requirements for the investment projects. The first requirement, as I stated before, is to have invested more than 12 million euros. The next one is the creation of at least 10 new jobs with an average salary that is higher than the average salary in the relevant region. The third requirement is that the project must involve the construction, modernization, technical re-equipment of investment objects. The next one, the project implementation period should not exceed 5 years. And the last one, the project must be implemented in one of the areas stipulated by the law. In addition, the law stipulates requirements for a potential investor, also its ownership structure and financial capacity to ensure financing of the further investment projects. And in general, to obtain a positive conclusion on signing an agreement with the state and receiving state support, the applicant frankly must submit a considerable amount of documents But I would like to note that at the same time, our team has developed both methodological recommendations and also sample forms of the necessary documents in order to facilitate this process for the applicants as much as possible. And now let's take a look at available forms of state support. State support can be provided in the form of exception from corporate income tax, exception from value-added tax and custom duties payment for operations on import of new equipment and components to it. Also, it can be simplified procedure for granting the right for use of land plots of state property with the preemptive right for acquisition of such a land plot. Also, it can be compensation for the costs for construction of engineering and transport infrastructure and compensation for costs of connection to engineering and transport infrastructure. Now let's go through the forms of state support in the framework of Special Economic Zone Industrial Park. Ukrainian legislation stipulates that industrial park is the territory determined by the initiator of incorporation of an industrial park, within which the members of the industrial park can carry out economic activities in the area of processing industry, processing of industrial or household waste, alternative energy, energy storage, as well as it can be R&D projects, IT, and electronic communications. Members of industrial park can obtain also seat exemption for 10 years. It also can be value-added tax exemption from import duties for new equipment. Initiator of incorporation of industrial park or managing company has a wider range of possible forms of state support, and for example it can be compensation for connecting to the engineering and transport infrastructure. It can be land tax exemption, reduced land tax rates, and also exemption from real estate tax for industrial buildings, and etc. Regarding the virtual free economic zone for tech companies, DSCT, due to time limits, I would like to cover only benefits of being a resident of this economic zone. So the first advantage is low tax rates for labor and corporate taxes. For example, for residents, it can be 9% exit capital tax or 18% income tax. The next one, the state guarantees residents of the DSCT the stability of condition for 25 years, as well as the observance of the rights and legitimate interests of residents and the specialists. Also, each company at DSCT can select the method of hiring employees that works best for them. And the last one, residents have access to legal elements of common law system. And in conclusion, I would like to note the following. Our institution is authorized to support investment projects with significant investments, but we actively provide investors with information support on issues that do not relate to significant investments. And if you're interested in investing in Ukraine, we will be happy to accompany you in this process and provide all the necessary advice and assistance within our competence on the free of charge basis. So that's it from my side. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Katerina. And we are passing to Andriy Rizvanuk, Senior Expert of the Investment Attraction and Support Department at the UkraineInvest, who will share with us not only FDI theory, which we heard from the Ministry of Economy, but about FDI practices in Ukraine. Andriy, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm Andriy, UkraineInvest, and today I will tell you about our activities, of UkraineInvest, and share examples how foreign investors continue to implement projects in Ukraine even during wartime. Next slide, please. UkraineInvest operates as a one-stop shop service agency for investors. We assist companies at every stage, from the first inquiry to the launch of production. We consistently reach out to the international investment community, bring projects to the market that are open for investments, and provide complete information on setting up a business in Ukraine. We also actively promote Ukraine on international platforms, organize events for potential investors, highlight both the general attractiveness of Ukraine and specific opportunities. Next. We provide information support on macroeconomic and sectoral trends, as well as on legal, tax, and other issues. In addition, we offer consulting and organizational assistance. We facilitate cooperation with government bodies, help resolve business-related issues, advocate for legislative changes, assist in identifying investment opportunities and selecting partners, and organize site visits. Next. Despite the full-scale invasion, major international companies continue to invest in Ukraine. This slide shows just a few examples of large-scale projects that were launched after the start of the war. The total volume of new investment supported by UkraineInvest exceeds 1 billion euros. Those examples demonstrate that international business maintains trust in Ukraine and that investors continue to see our market as promising, even under current conditions. Now I will show you several. Yes, next, please. Yes. Next. Now I will show you several more important examples of investment projects launched in 2023 or 24. They clearly demonstrate that despite all challenges, international businesses are deciding to open new production facilities in Ukraine and expand their presence here. Next slide. The first example is Kronospan. It's developing an industrial park in Rivne region focused on woodworking. Next one. The next is German company Knauf. It has started the construction of its second plant in Ukraine. Next. Another example of new investments is the projects of British company Unilever. Yes, next. The Finnish company Peika Group is building a plant for the production of composite structures. Next. Swiss company Nestlé is completing the construction of new plant near Lutsk with investment of about 40 million euros. Yes, next. Thank you. The French company Saint-Gobain opened a new plant for the production of gypsum mixes last year. Next. We actively work with businesses, investors, and partners from many countries around the globe. We are especially pleased that Canada is among these countries with which we already have close cooperation. I'm confident that this cooperation will only expand and be strengthened more strong in the future. Next. Although about 1,000 companies with Canadian capital are currently operating in Ukraine, Canada is ranked only 44th among investors' countries. We sincerely hope that Canadian business interest in Ukraine will grow and that the coming years will demonstrate much more dynamic cooperation. Next. Today, Ukraine is a very attractive country for investments thanks to a wide range of factors. These include opportunities related to reconstruction, Ukraine's strategic location between Europe and Asia, the digitalization of government services and flexible legislation. Other important advantages are our skilled workforce, low labor costs, significant raw material base, and lower production and construction costs. Next. This slide summarizes how investment insurance works during wartime and what parameters are available to investors. Both international mechanism and Ukraine's own mechanism for insuring investments against war risks are in place, allowing companies to insure their assets in Ukraine. And what is very important, these mechanisms are already being applied in practice. Next. And now I would like to show you several practical mechanisms that we use to attract investments in Ukraine. One of the key tools is our website. There, investors can find all the information they need to make an informed investment decision. In particular, you can see the interactive map of investment projects and opportunities in Ukraine. Next. Today, this map contains about 200 investment projects conveniently categorized by sectors of the economy. Next. In addition to sectoral categories, the map also allows investors to select a specific region of Ukraine. Next. This slide demonstrates another function of the investment map, ability to select an economic sector. For example, an investor can choose agro-processing or agriculture and immediately see all the projects available in this sector. Next. Another important tool is UkraineInvest guide. It's an investor's handbook that is regularly updated and serves as a convenient resource for those who want to quickly gain a comprehensive understanding of investment opportunities in Ukraine. Next. The guide is structured on such a way that investors can easily find the information they need. It combines general analytical context with specific investment opportunities. Next. Ukraine is open for investment today. We offer not only competitive opportunities and state incentives, but also real mechanism for protecting investors. Your investments are not only business ventures, they are also a contribution to the reconstruction and modernization of Ukraine. Please feel free to contact UkraineInvest anytime, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Andrei. And now we will pass the floor to Roman Vashuk, Business Ombudsman in Ukraine. And actually, we already have one question that might be addressed with only introduction of our next speaker, because we had a question from IT Solution Invest about how they can reconnect and establish a professional exchange with Roman Vashuk in order to foster collaboration and broaden our horizons in development. So I hope, Roman, you will share with us your contacts with which our today's participants could contact you and reconnect. And I'm honored to pass the floor to our business ombudsman, Mr. Vashuk.
Thank you very much. My job currently is to help in case all of the fantastic programs that have already been outlined succeed, but that there are bumps in the road. So our agency helps businesses, whether they're foreign investors or Ukrainian-owned, in dealing with problems that come up in relations with government. Next slide, please. So we have, our status is we're an advisory and consultative body under the Cabinet of Ministers, and we were co-founded by the government, by the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the OECD, and 5 Ukrainian business associations. Next slide. As a result, we are operationally independent. So we can ask questions of government agencies, but we do not take orders from them. Our basic functions: investigating business complaints, we can issue recommendations, monitor their implementation, whether that is in the case of individual complaints, but we also look at the overall landscape and then give systemic recommendations to state bodies to help fix systemic problems. And we talk about that with the media and in our quarterly and annual reports. What are our powers? We can request information required from complaint from state bodies, and they are obliged to answer us. We can make proposals, but neither the cabinet nor the individual government authorities are obliged to listen to us. But if they don't, then we can talk about it. And so there's a certain name and shame factor there under disclosing state bodies' malpractice, which actually makes about 2/3 of the government agencies we deal with, and 2/3 of our complaints that we work on, means that they ultimately end up agreeing with us and with the company. Next. We have a team. We have 35 people on our team, most of whom are lawyers, experts, especially in administrative law, tax law, customs law. So when we deal with your complaint, whether it's individual or systemic, we generally know what we're talking about, and we know how to move on to practical solutions. Next. I think we've covered most of that already, so we'll just move on to the next slide. Who can apply to us with a complaint? Legal entities and private entrepreneurs, in other words, personal entrepreneurs. If you're just a person off the street, sorry, can't take your complaint. But if you're a company or a private entrepreneur, yes. Who can you complain about? State authorities, state or municipal enterprises where they act as part of the government and not simply as a commercial enterprise. So if you're unhappy with a ticket on Ukrainian railways, sorry, can't help you. But if it's a municipal services company that refuses to connect you to the water mains or the electrical grid, then yes. And local government. Next. If you want to take a picture of the QR code, that is our complaints mechanism access. Anyway, every page of our website has a submit a complaint button. So you can't miss it if you come to our site, which is boi.org.ua, available in both Ukrainian and English. Next. What are the criteria for launching a complaint with us? It hasn't yet gone to court. We're a prejudicial and post-judicial administrative tribunal. It concerns unfair treatment by state authorities. So if you've got a conflict with another company, not our problem. You've tried something to resolve the issue on your own, at least written a letter or somehow asked for it to be reviewed. You're not asking us to challenge the legality of a court decision. The courts are independent. We can't second guess them. And we're not archaeologists. We deal in the here and now. Less than 1 year has passed since the unfair conduct occurred. Next. What have we achieved over the period of 10 years that we've been in operation? We've received over 14,000 complaints. We've processed 9,100 of them. If you wonder what's the difference, well, some of the complaints were people write us and they say, our case is already in court. Oops, can't take that. Or I'm really upset about the ticket on Ukrainian railways, can't take that. So that's, we take about 2/3 of what's sent to us and work with them. That has resulted in 63% of those cases being successfully resolved. And the financial impact is we have returned 28.5 billion Ukrainian hryvnia, that's nearly $1 billion Canadian dollars, back to big and small Ukrainian businesses. In terms of their size, 71% of businesses that apply to us are SMEs, 85% are Ukrainian companies. Of the ones who respond to our questionnaires, 97% of our complainants are satisfied. Maybe the unhappy grumblers just haven't responded. We do these, we've done 24 reports of various types over the years on systemic issues. They're all on our website. In fact, our website reflects our work in real time. As soon as something goes through our electronic case management system, it's up on the site, counted towards our statistics. Next. What do people complain about? Tax issues, law enforcement agencies, state regulatory bodies, customs, and local authorities. Customs is kind of low because very often custom cases are urgent and there's people either go to court very quickly or they settle out of court with the customs authorities just because, let's say, your shipment of lettuce won't wait for a full administrative treatment. Next. What have we done? For example, we removed debtor status for a distillery. The tax service had calculated wrongly 52.4 million as a tax debt. We had that canceled. We've intervened with a city council to grant permission to set up a retail point where there was a conflict. We've helped extend payment terms through the Ministry of Economy for equipment being imported into the country. Next. Canceled adjustments in customs value, in other words, higher customs value for an importer of mirrors. We proved that the price that was outlined was by the importer was the correct price. And persuaded the tax service to accept data tables. That is a sort of an explanation of your work process from private entrepreneurs in the field of repair services. So a very wide range, and again, from one-person companies to big multinationals. We work with them all. Next. An example of reports we've done on tax inspections, critical infrastructure, the VAT administration system, tax incentives in the defense sector. So we definitely have a fiscal focus because that's where about 2/3 of our cases come from, but we will deal with any complaint you can throw at us as long as it deals with Ukrainian government bodies. Next. Here's an example of us also doing field visits because we like to go just beyond the paper trail and figure out what it is that our complainants really do and what they produce. And so we're happy to go out and meet with our client base. Next. And there are our coordinates, boi.org.ua, the website, also there on the QR code. And if you want to reach me, then just add my name, roman.waschuk@boi.org.ua. And I think that answers one of the one question you had at the outset. So that's it for me.
Great, Roman. Thank you so much for sharing with us your contacts and for your good tips on where to go and what to do in case something happens. And now I'm happy to pass the floor to Zenon Potochny, President of Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce, who will tell us about tools for Canadian investors, which we have in the Chamber of Commerce. So please, the floor is yours. We don't hear you, you're muted.
Technology. How is that?
better?
Good morning to everyone in Canada and good afternoon to everyone in Ukraine. Доброго дня. On behalf of Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce, I am honored to welcome you to present the important work that we think our Chamber of Commerce is undertaken to support the trade and investment between Canada and Ukraine. We have been in existence for a long time. We're more than 32 years. CUCC has proudly served as a leading voice for business between our two nations. Today, we have over 150 members in Canada and Ukraine across many industries. We're more than a network. We're a community dedicated to fostering enduring economic ties and unlocking new opportunities in trade and investment. Our mission is simple yet powerful: to be a member-focused business network that helps companies grow, innovate, and succeed across the borders. From 2016 to 2021, we led the Canada-Ukraine Trade and Investment Support Project, which was called in short CUCC, in collaboration with the Conference Board of Canada. Our partner in Ukraine was actually Ministry of Economy, and we had a very, very nice and successful project. Most of this, or mainly this support, was to SMEs, and I'm glad Mr. Vasyuk mentioned SMEs a few times. We sometimes forget about SMEs, how much influence they have on GDP growth and growth in general, in not only in Ukraine, but in any country. And sometimes, yes, we would like to get investors that put in $1 billion or hundreds of millions immediately. But if we find hundreds of SMEs and they all put few million in, we're also into hundreds of millions. So let's keep on not forgetting SMEs. This initiative, CUCC, helped drive a 31% increase in Ukraine's export to Canada at the time and attracted over 180 Canadian investors with a total of about 280 million invested in Ukraine. These numbers show how trade can create jobs, share knowledge, and also build a stronger economy. We have actually initiated discussions with Canadian government and senators on perhaps starting an extension of CUCC 1, and let's call it maybe CUCC 2. We have talked also to Minister Sobolev and Deputy Prime Minister Mr. Kachka just a few weeks ago when we were in Ukraine, because as you realize, sometimes we need a little bit of push from partners from Ukraine to get things done in Canada. So let's continue on talking. I hope to perhaps extend this again. Our flagship initiative, the Rebuild Ukraine Business Conference, embodies our commitment to partnership and action. Over the past 3 years, we have welcomed more than 400 participants and over 120 expert speakers. Together, they have presented over 60 investment projects in energy, agriculture, infrastructure, and health sciences, projects that are already helping rebuild and modernize Ukraine. These events have also sparked many new partnerships and collaborations that keep on growing. Looking ahead to December 2, 2025, we're preparing our 4th conference. Its theme is Strength in Unity, Building Ukraine's Future. This year, we will focus on working together, Canada, Ukraine, the EU, and UK, to support long-term recovery, reconstruction, and modernization. During last year's Rebuild Ukraine Business Conference, we launched the Rebuild Ukraine Toolkit for Canadian businesses, a digital platform that helps companies understand Ukraine's tax system, legal rules, risk management, and public procurement. The toolkit features UCAN Pro, a portal we have helped create to Canadian firms can easily find, evaluate, and bid on public tenders in Ukraine. We have noticed that there are billions and billions of dollars being allocated to companies through these tenders, but unfortunately, Canadian companies were not participating. So we're trying to help them do that. You can translate tenders into English and French, filters for relevant opportunities, and provide step-by-step support. Because of tools like UkrainePro and Prozoro, Canadian companies can now take part in Ukraine's reconstruction with greater confidence, knowing what is required, how to comply, and how to succeed. The toolkit also includes a library of investment projects ready for partnership and detailed information on the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement, CAFTA, helping businesses see where trade rules, tariff advantages, and market openings can work in their favor. We would love to work closer with Invest Ukraine and also CUCC on perhaps presenting a lot of these projects that you have at our conference in 2025. The Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce regularly leads and takes part in business missions that bring Canadian and Ukrainian companies face to face. These missions create opportunity for new partnerships and investments and give our members a first-hand look at promising projects across Canada. One strong example was our June 2024 mission to Ukraine with Minister of International Trade Mary Eng. On that visit, Canadian companies met with Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko, joined CEO Club Ukraine Roundtable, and celebrated Canada Day together. In November 2024, CUCC supported Natural Resources of Canada, NRCan, in organizing the Canada delegation to the Rebuild Ukraine Conference and exhibition in Warsaw. Together with NRCan, Export Development Canada, and 18 Canadian companies, we presented the Canada Pavilion, giving Canadian businesses a global stage to showcase innovation and to connect with partners from across Europe and Ukraine. This year, the Rebuild Ukraine Conference in Warsaw will take place again on November 13 and 14, and we're once more working with NRCan to organize the Canada delegation. We're still recruiting Canadian companies to join us. If you're interested in participating in one of the largest Rebuild Ukraine conferences dedicated to reconstruction and recovery, we invite you to reach out to us, be part of Canada's presence in Warsaw. As Ukraine continues to rebuild, we invite every business, investor, and policymaker here to join us in turning opportunities into lasting impact. Visit our website, connect with our team, and be part of the next chapter in Canada-Ukraine Economic Cooperation. Together, we can ensure that our collaboration not only supports Ukraine's recovery, but also strengthens the economic prosperity of both our nations. Thank you. Дякую.
Thank you so much, and we are indeed looking forward to participation of Canadian companies in the upcoming Rebuild Ukraine conference. That's true. So thank you for it. I think we have time only for one question for this Q&A, because I'm sorry, otherwise we would finish in about 3 hours more. We still have 9 speakers more. So I would also ask all other speakers, if you could cut your presentations of less than 8 minutes that you were promised, we would be very grateful for you. And any questions? I ask participants to raise their hands in case you have questions to the speakers from this panel. And if we have no question, in that case, we are passing to the second part on war risk insurance issues, which were already partially covered by Andriy, but we will touch them a little bit more. And pass the floor to the member of the board of the Export Credit Agency, Yevgeny Harbar, who will present us their mechanisms. Yevgeny?
Are you hear me well?
Yes, we hear you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, dear Canadian colleagues and partners, and good afternoon, good evening, our Ukrainian partners and colleagues. Before I introduce our 2 specific products, I want to give some background about us, the Ukrainian Export Credit Agency, and what makes us special. Our national ACA is a part of Ukrainian state infrastructure. We are one of the government tools for supporting exporters. The main of our purpose is to help Ukrainian companies that produce goods, services, or works of Ukrainian region to export them by reducing or sharing risks. It does it generally through insurance, guarantees, and related tools with it. At the same time, the Ukrainian ECA is a part of the world global network of export credit agencies. Like many ECAs around the world, we are covering political risks, war risks, and provide support for export credits. I have a strong feeling that you know about difficult situation with the relationship with the Russian Federation. That's why we have to provide risk coverage innovative product for providing support for foreign investors. Now we ensure war and political risk inside Ukraine, even through Ukraine in the war. There is a very rare. Many ECAs or insurers close limits of coverage in active conflict zones. We are open real opportunities for foreign investors. If you invest in Ukraine in the manufacturing or any export sectors, you can get insurance protection against a range of several risks, like expropriation, war damage, and others. Before describing each product, I want to make a helicopter view of common requirements that apply on both. The investee must be located in a territory of Ukraine, excluding territory which placed close to war zone or territories temporarily occupied by the Russian Federation. The purpose of the direct investment of the investment loan must be creation of facilities and infrastructure necessary for the manufacturing industry and export of goods of Ukrainian origin. The goods and works or services which be exported as a result of the investment must meet the requirements of the law of national mechanism for stimulating export activities. There are no restrictions for services and works, but goods must be value added under the law. We cover war and political risk. For example, armed conflicts, hostilities, occupation, annexation, violent changes of constitutional order. Here, I want to share a short presentation. It's just one page. I have the opportunity to see this. One moment.
Yes, you should have it.
Okay, yes, on the screen. Actually, if you're talking about our investment product, investment-related insurance, we have two products. Investment loan insurance, we coverage loans of Ukrainian legal entities related to investment in the creation of facilities and infrastructure necessary for the development of manufacturing industries and export of the goods, work, services of Ukrainian origin. We are insuring interest of Ukrainian bank lender. We are covering risks, one or more war, political risk, or war and political risks included in the list approved by a decision of the Cabinet Ministry of Ukraine. We are covered losses on payment of the principal. We are not covering the interest rate of the bank. If you're talking about underwriting, we have such much difficult underwriting system. One of the aim, it's based on the country risk category. It's Ukraine. If you're talking about insurance rates, we have a little bit more than 2 insurance contracts in our portfolio, and the average interest rate is just 1.26%. If you're talking about investment loan insurance. If you're talking about investment insurance of investments in Ukraine, it's investment, we are coverage investment or dividends of investor. We insured individual of legal entity, resident or non-resident of Ukraine. It's have to be an investor. We covered losses, operational inability, loss caused by explanation of equity and rights of claim dividends, loss caused by inability of remit dividends. If you're talking about underwriting, it's based on type of activity and risk zone in the Ukraine. If you're talking about insurance rates, it's in range of 0.5% to 8%. Exactly. For Canadian companies looking for invest in Ukraine, especially in manufacturing, export of goods, those ACI products offer a strong opportunity to balance between risk and return. So I invite you to explore these opportunities and apply to the Ukrainian Export Credit Agency. Each investment project will be carefully considered with tailored insurance solutions and protect your capital and ensure your success in Ukraine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Han. And now we'll talk a little bit more about DFC's products, about which we also have heard a little bit from Andriy. So Tony Pollack, country officer in Ukraine, will share with us overview of DFC's products, including PRI. Tony, are you with us?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me and see me?
And you're welcome.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you. So for those that don't know, the DFC is the U.S. government's development finance institution. And our mission is to advance U.S. foreign policy and strengthen national security by mobilizing private capital into strategic investments. We have a long history of partnership with and in Ukraine. Our predecessor agency, OPEC, began working in Ukraine shortly after Ukraine's independence in 1991. And 3 years ago, we surged our investments in Ukraine as a way to drive investments and help Ukraine weather the impacts of the war. Globally, we're active in over 100 countries with a global portfolio of over $50 billion. And today, Ukraine is one of DFC's largest markets, where we have invested across a variety of different sectors. We offer many different tools to private sector projects, loans, guarantees, equity, technical assistance, but most relevant to this conversation is our political and war risk insurance product. I'll go over some basics of our insurance. We can cover up to $1 billion per project with a term of 20 years. The risks that we cover include political violence, war, civil disturbance. Within that umbrella of war risk insurance, we can insure against the physical damage or destruction of assets from acts of war, terrorism, revolution, sabotage, or civil unrest. We can also insure against forced abandonment, which is if investors must withdraw from a project because of ongoing conflict or occupation. We can also insure against loss of business income resulting from conflict-related damage. And importantly, this can extend even to infrastructure that is not owned by the investors themselves, but are essential for operations. So for example, supply lines or utilities. We insure against expropriation and takings, in this context from either government, Ukraine or Russia, and protect against discriminatory government actions. We provide our insurance to promote private sector investment activity. We hope that our products catalyze capital flows, meaning that they encourage private sector investors and lenders to enter into Ukraine despite the risks. We hope also that they deter adverse actions by either government, and that is backed by the full faith and credit of the US government. We can provide advocacy, and we have a strong track record. We've insured dozens of billions of dollars across our history. In terms of our process, from like a very, very high level, we have a couple of conversations about the project. We ask for a formal application to be submitted to us through our portal. We screen the application. We review the proposals for eligibility, meaning that they meet our policy, development, environmental, anti-corruption standards. We perform due diligence, which includes the financial viability, private sector participation, and strategic relevance. And then we structure the insurance policy. We tailor the insurance terms to the project and make sure that the coverage, tenor, and pricing are responsive to the needs of the project of the project sponsor. I'm thinking about what else. Probably that our political and war risk insurance isn't just about protecting investors. It's about signaling the U.S. government's commitment and unlocking private capital and ensuring that Ukraine's recovery is built on the foundation of resilience and long-term growth. Basically, our products are tools to help investors feel confident in their investments, that they're protected, their risks are understood, and that the US stands behind them in contributing to Ukraine's future. That's really it from my part. I'd rather save time for questions and answers, but I will respond to one question that I'm likely to receive in advance. What's the price? We calculate the price on a per project basis. But we try to do that early on in our process. So after seeing the project proposal for maybe 1-2 weeks, we can offer a non-binding indicative rate for the project. But really, it depends on a project by project basis. So thank you to UkraineInvest and the Ministry of Economy, and I'll be here at the end of the call for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. And now we are passing to ARX, and I give the floor to Maxim Mezhebitsky, Deputy CEO. Maxim, are you with us?
Thank you. Can you? Oh, presentation is already shown. Hello, everyone. My name is Maxim Mezhebitsky. I'm first Deputy CEO at ARX. ARX is a Ukrainian insurance company and part of Canadian holding Fairfax since 2019. Before, during 11 years, operated under AXA brand in Ukraine. I will share with you some slides about our experience in war risk insurance, because it's quite unique in Ukrainian market and worldwide as well. Next slide, please. From the very beginning of full-scale war in 2022, we realized that the classical war risk insurance, so-called PVI product, will be unavailable in Ukraine because of catastrophic nature of losses during wartime. Traditional war risk insurance market, Lloyd's, closed its limits for Ukraine immediately after full-scale war began. So we started thinking what might be a solution for Ukraine here and now. And the solution was found in creating limited coverage, which would exclude the risk of catastrophic loss, but still could be relevant and demanded in those regions which are far enough from front line. We call this product Iron Dome. The coverage includes protection against damage caused by missiles, drones, and all types of all types and their fragments in relatively safe areas of Ukraine, in particular more than 100 kilometers from the front line or Russian border. The coverage was provided in the very beginning within relatively small limits, up to $500,000 without reinsurance. And following our approach, about 10 other insurance companies implemented the same product. So it's become a kind of market standard now. Next slide, please. Some statistics as of today. During last 2 years, we insured almost 470 medium and large property objects for $256 million of total liability. So far, we settled 6 property claims in the amount of $1.5 million already. The regional distribution of insured objects, you see, we have quite a big concentration in Kyiv region, and other objects are distributed in other regions, mostly Western regions. Next slide, please. Our initial idea was also to attract reinsurers by using our positive experience and already created portfolio, which would help us to increase our limits and create first precedent of reinsurance. And this happened last year with the support of our insurance broker, Aon. In the beginning of last year, we started negotiations with DFC. It resulted in signing a reinsurance agreement starting from November 1st last year. This agreement allowed us to increase our limits up to $2.5 million, 5 times per object, and up to $200 million of aggregate liability for 1 year. As of today, during last months, we insured 43 objects for $80 million total liability. 1 claim was declared recently to this facility. Average tariff we have for this portfolio is 2.3%. Next slide, please. Our next expectation was that our experience and the first ongoing reinsurance program with DFC would attract attention of commercial reinsurance market of Lloyd's. And that's also happened recently. Starting from January this year, we launched cooperation with Lloyd's market through two brokers, McGill and Aon. Up to 100 quotations were provided with limits up to $30 million per object. 3 contracts already signed for $55 million of total liability for 22 locations. 2 more contracts for approximately 25 million will be issued by the end of September. 13 syndicates of Lloyd's are involved in this cooperation. Prices are quite high. For the moment, the average tariff we apply is around 5%. That's why the level of conversion of quotations to the contracts is not so high. What is important to mention from this perspective that it was announced from 1st of October that our government is going to launch the program of partial premium subsidy for war insurance. It will help to decrease insurance cost and to make it more affordable. We don't know the final parameters of this program, of this subsidy, but it was announced that preliminary that 1st of October is a target date to launch this program. So we are waiting. And we also expect that after stable ceasefire, the prices will go down at least 2 times, maybe even more. That's all from my side. Thank you for attention, and I'm ready to answer questions, if any. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxim. And now we're passing to another important partner of ours, which is IFC. And I pass the floor to Elena Voloshyna, head of the International Finance Corporation in Ukraine.
Yes, good afternoon, good morning to those of you who are in a different time zone. Let me try to share my screen with you. And while I'm doing that, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. I knew it. One thing I wanted to say is that actually one thing IFC does not do is we do not provide insurance. So I must have been put on this panel for a different reason. Because within the World Bank Group, it's our sister institution, MIGA, that is represented today by Annabelle, who will tell to you about what the World Bank does in the sphere of insurance. We do something else. We provide financing. And so with that, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay, so International Finance Corporation within the World Bank Group, our responsibility is to support the private sector. And we do it through a variety of different instruments. And the first instrument is the, everyone knows the famous World Bank Group RDNA report. There's so far been 4 of these reports that are looking at the implications of the war and the Ukrainian needs for reconstruction and recovery. The last one was completed, I think, beginning of this year or end of last year, and there's already conversations ongoing about RDNA 5. But the one that we currently operate on is RDNA 4, which estimates the needs of Ukraine for reconstruction and development and recovery to exceed $500 billion. IFC does not do these reports on a regular basis, but we did one in 2023, which is called PSO, Private Sector Opportunities Report. And basically our job was to see at what would be the private sector contribution. What could it be with reforms and what could it be without reforms? And we looked at it per sector. Yes, the numbers are outdated, but I think the general proportion remains the same. The private sector could and should be covering at least 1/3 of the country's recovery needs. It varies by sectors. In some sectors like agriculture or banking, almost all the damages could be covered by the private sector itself. Other sectors like energy, housing, transport would require more serious reforms for the private sector to really make a significant contribution. And so IFC's role is not only to finance the private sector, but also to help Ukraine develop reforms, venues, and possibilities for the private sector to invest. And these are the four streams of what we do. Our bread and butter is investment. Just as DFC, we can provide all sorts of financing instruments that are on the right side of the balance sheet, starting from senior secured loan all the way down to equity, anything in between, risk-sharing facilities, short-term capital, long-term capital, guarantees, etc. Upstream is a relatively new stream for IFC. Basically, in simple terms, this is about identifying a gap either in a certain sector or with a certain company and jointly addressing. In very practical terms, part of upstream is also to jointly develop projects. And one of the projects that will be presented today, my good friend Lila from Astarta will be presenting this case. This was precisely when IFC engaged early on with a company, with CUCC, and we jointly developed the project first, and then IFC financed the project. That is something that we would be doing more and more and looking at various different options. Advisory is a classic case where we help the government put together certain legislation, certain instruments that are missing, developing, fintech market, PPPs. So all of this is traditional advisory work. And analytical, I already demonstrated with a private sector opportunities report. I think the easiest thing is just to give you concrete examples. Agriculture. We've invested since the war started more than $500 million in various Ukrainian agricultural projects. And these projects include working capital facilities for traders so that traders could also finance the farmers. It also includes MHP project, which had both working capital as well as waste to energy, because we financed the liquefied biogas production facility. Small investment to support our existing client in the south of Ukraine, which produces tomato paste. And last but not least, Astarta, the project which we are very proud of, because not only was it good because we jointly engaged with the project, but it is also a case where Ukrainian producer is moving into serious value-add processing in order to be able to export to Europe. So we're very proud of that project. We are mindful of the needs of small businesses. We understand that IFC cannot finance small businesses direct. And the way we do it is by partnering with financial institutions. And we partnered with them in terms of global trade facilitation program when we support export-import operations. But we also signed 6 risk-sharing facilities with 6 different financial institutions for a total amount of over $600 million. And that allows these financial institutions to reach out to more smaller companies, businesses, farmers, etc. And we also supported a large leasing company also with a risk-sharing facility of $145 million. Tech industry, again, that is something where Ukraine is quite famous. This is the industry that continues to contribute to Ukraine's economy. Again, we partnered with a private equity fund, which also has a Canadian component. We all know and love Lena Kajarny, the managing partner. We are the largest investor in Horizon Capital. But not only do we support the capital itself, the fund itself, but we also do a lot of co-investments with them, because partnering with them allows us to do smaller things like 5.5 million in pre-apply, or the most recent one, a VC fund with $6 million of investment. Infrastructure, here we're talking about large long-term projects. And this was the case where we supported a very large FDI, concrete investment in Ukrainian infrastructure by a large international group, a famous project in the telecom space with the French company NJJ coming into the market during the war and investing in Ukrainian infrastructure. And we're also entering into renewable space, where we supported one onshore wind power facility, but we're also looking at a couple more. So far, since the massive invasion, we've invested $2.7 billion, which is quite a lot for us. Before the war, the numbers were not that impressive, so it is possible to invest in Ukraine. And we also have a pipeline. We have a pipeline for, sorry, we invested 2.5, but the pipeline we have for 2.7. So there are things to be looked at and financed. We also have run a very large and diverse advisory program, but I think I'm going to skip that. If someone has specific interests, I'd be happy to provide more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. And as was already announced, now we are passing to MIGA and to World Bank activities in Ukraine. And I'm honored to pass the floor to Annabelle Gastal, Senior Investment Guarantee Officer at MIGA.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can, Annabelle.
Okay, very good. Shall I try to share my screen as well? Let me do that. Just 1 second, please. Expand the screen. Okay, is it? Can you see my screen well now with the presentation?
Yes, it's much better. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So I'm very pleased to be connected to this webinar today. My name is Annabelle Gastal. I'm a Senior Investment Guarantee Officer at MIGA, the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, part of the World Bank Group. I'm responsible for the Ukraine's business development efforts and based in Paris. So I would like to kind of provide you with a brief overview of what we have done so far in Ukraine and kind of our strategy around supporting Ukraine. Essentially, Ukraine for us is a country we have been focusing on since the early 90s, and we have had a very large, sizable exposure of almost $2 billion US dollar in terms of guaranteed issues. And since the conflict started, we have tailored our exposure and support to Ukraine to specific sectors that I would like to kind of describe to you. So the way the strategy has been kind of designed internally has been across, let's say, 2 pillars. The first pillar relates to support to short-term trade needs, and we have done so through a cooperation with our colleagues from the IFC, but also our partners with the EBRD. We have also fairly substantially supported the financial sector, and that's something that I will tell you a little bit more about. And that's, again, part of the sort of pillar 1 support. And on a selective basis, we have also looked at real sector projects, and we have achieved some good results here as well. Now, as the conflict ceases, we hope that we will expand more and not only our capacity to the first pillar I mentioned, but also expanding the support to neighboring countries as well that are connected to Ukraine and supporting Ukraine market. So with that, in terms of the sort of new guarantee issuances since the conflict started, so what I can share is like after February 2022, we have issued $453 million of new guarantees. We have currently in our pipeline approximately $32 million of projects that we are currently underwriting. Now, if I kind of give you a sort of breakdown of what has been the sort of focus, I was mentioning about this pillar one that we have tried to really implement actively. So in a sense, $30 million has been allocated to support trade through local Ukrainian state-owned banks. Now we have the bulk of our exposure has been $382 million to the banking sector. And here we have focused our attention to support Ukrainian subsidiaries. Sorry, I'm just trying to also switch the slide. I've been talking without switching the slide. Okay. So the Ukrainian subsidiaries of foreign banking groups. So through that particular support, we have hoped that the financing, additional lending that those Ukrainian subsidiaries of foreign banking groups would help leverage and support key industries that are very much of focus during this particular time, including agribusiness or fuel, pharmaceutical, or like the small and medium-sized enterprises to kind of keep up the local economic network live and receive the needed liquidity support or financing support to keep the activities open and to grow them. So these has been the main focus really of our support. Now we also have, as I mentioned, selectively looked at real sector projects, and this has been in the amount of approximately $32 million. Mainly, this has been directed towards manufacturing, agribusiness, and services sectors. And I will share in a second some examples. But before I do that, I wanted to kind of highlight some key messages to the audience today. The first one is this particular deployment of our strategy to support Ukraine so far has been very much linked to our capacity to leverage the support of the donor financing and also the reinsurance partners. So let me expand a bit more of that, and you see on the screen some important information about the first element that I was mentioning. So essentially in February 2023, MIGA established the Support for Ukraine's Reconstruction and Economic Trust Fund to enable the issuance of new guarantees in favor of Ukraine. Please note that just maybe for the sake of clarity, our mandate is really to promote foreign direct investment into countries. Therefore, we're looking into the cross-border elements into our support. So if we are not looking at no eligibility for locally based Ukraine investors, right, for this particular guarantee product. So here, the idea is with the support of the donor financing, we could manage our exposure up front and essentially do more. We also do that in conjunction with the reinsurance. I'm going to talk about that in a second as well. But before I do that, just for you to know about the dynamic on the share trust fund. So we have received a contribution from Japan, who's been the anchor donor, but also from the UK, Norway, Belgium, and the USA. Now, our goal has been to kind of raise $300 million, but so far we have been at 110 million roughly. So we hope that we can continue expanding that effort so that we have that tool that has been very much utilized. In fact, we have almost fully utilized that particular trust fund money to support the project I described, or at least the exposure that I described in the different segments: trade, financial sector, and real sector. Now, something that has been a bit of, I would say, the business model that MIGA is leveraging or utilizing is the reinsurance market. We have a very strong partnership with private reinsurers, and we have tried to leverage this as well. Unfortunately, this has been a bit challenging in the sense that the context of Ukraine has not helped do a lot, but still we have managed to attract and mobilized $182 million in what we call treaty reinsurance, so with a framework that we have of a partnership framework that we have with reinsurers, and also approximately $41 million of facultative reinsurance. And this includes also contribution from export credit agencies and private reinsurance. And I would like to highlight that within that cooperation with the ECAs, we have had signed a memorandum of understanding with CUCC, the Polish ECAs, that was really successful because we helped through that partnership leverage some portion of reinsurance for a specific project in the real sector. And we also have conducted co-insurance with our partner, also GFC of the USA. So I think these are examples of also how we have leveraged our possibility, our capacities to be able to do more. I mentioned it earlier, on the trade side, we have partnered with the IFC and also the EBRD. And let me, sorry, I just forgot maybe to kind of give you
a little bit over the time. So if you could be
very... Yeah. These are, okay, I just wanted two additional points just on the product lines aspects. Mainly what we have deployed in Ukraine is one civil disturbance risk, or the war risk insurance. We have also extended the expropriation risk coverage and the trade finance. I will not go into additional details here. And what I wanted just to show very briefly is this particular example where we also partnered with the EBRD to support the Dragon Capital development of the Lviv Industrial Park in the Lviv region. Here you have a good example of utilization of also the share trust fund to support MIGA exposure into this project. This was just by way of illustration. I'm available if you need additional information about MIGA support. Here's my contact details, and thank you.
Thank you, Annabelle. And we are passing to our last speaker in this section, who is Matthias Leuprecht from Tony Blair Institute. Matthias, are you with us?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Amazing. I'll be fairly brief in my remarks here. Maybe what I'll try to do is bring together kind of the previous presentations in this section. So if we just move to the next slide, how I really kind of look at the opportunities for de-risking in Ukraine is that there's kind of three different ways. We can see the Export Credit Agency, which was presented earlier. There's private reinsurance, which ARX shared a little bit about. And then, of course, there is the IFIs and the donors, which we saw from the IFC and MIGA. And really, I think depending on your company, the tools and resources available through these three mechanisms will differ. And we encourage you to kind of look at the best path forward for you. On the right-hand side here, I've provided a few kind of examples of projects and what that might look like in terms of the supports available through the three channels we just mentioned. And I think with this, I think what's really important to understand is that your assets can be protected, whether that's cargo and transport, whether it's a commercial property or a factory. And so looking into the tools available to you through these three options is really important. If we go to the next slide here, I think the point I really want to emphasize is that there's a suite of different options available to investors, and they have different options and tools, and of course, some variations in their policies. But with this, there's a diversity of products in the private market, of course, through the donors, and once again, through the export credit agencies, that I think investors can realize and use to their highest potential. And I think, conscious of time, I think there's three kind of key takeaways that I want to share given the presentations today. So the first is that there actually are tools available, war risk insurance, political risk insurance, available to investors, and those can be tailored to your needs. And so that brings me to my second point, which is that there is a variety, as you can see on this page, of products and tools or resources available to support investment in Ukraine. And I encourage you to look at the different sectors, the different types of services, and the geography that each of these different types of services cover. And I think the third point is that because we have these de-risking tools, the time to invest in Ukraine is now. We can't wait any longer. There is important opportunities for investors, and the opportunity to make an outsized return is available to investors right now. And I encourage you to leverage the de-risking tools available to you in order to make these investments. I want to take a moment to kind of thank all the panelists here today, to UkraineInvest for organizing the webinar, and of course our colleagues at the various embassies across the world. Thank you so much. My name is Matthias, and I work with the Tony Blair Institute. We provide advisory services to the government of Ukraine.
Matthias, thank you very much. And I'm sorry for saying this, but probably we won't take Q&A in this session. But please be sure that if you address your questions in the chat or send it over your registration form, you will have all your answers from all the speakers. But for the sake of time, we are passing to our last panel session on the practices of investors. And it was already discussed today about a startup project and their examples. So that is why I'm happy to move to Astarta and to pass the floor to Lilia Lemaiska, Chief Financial Officer.
Good afternoon and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to speak to the Canadian business community today. Let me share the screen with you. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Thanks a lot. So I represent here Astarta, one of Ukraine's leading agriculture holdings. Using our story, I want to share one key message. Ukraine is investable, even during the war. Astarta is one of the largest vertically integrated agricultural companies. We manage over 200,000 hectares of land, working with more than 25,000 rural landowners. Our value chain covers the entire cycle: crop growing, storage, handling and logistics, sugar production and bioenergy, soy processing, and cattle farming. We have 21% share of the local sugar market. We are one of the biggest soybean processing plants in Ukraine. And we are the largest industrial milk producer in Ukraine. Our revenue last year reached more than 600 million euro, and total investments during the wartime reached more than 100 million euro. This proves that serious, large-scale investments in Ukraine are possible. Astarta was founded in 1993, and we started the agriculture business in 1997. And we grew into a diversified group, and since 2006, a publicly listed company on the Warsaw Stock Exchange. Over 3 decades, we expanded sugar production, developed logistics infrastructure, launched a bioenergy facility, digitalized through our agri-chain platform, started organic farming, and committed to a decarbonization strategy. This history shows that Ukrainian companies can grow sustainably and meet international standards. Another important point for today's Canadian audience is our shareholder structure. Alongside the founding family of Mr. Ivanchuk and European investors, Fairfax Financial Holdings from Canada owns 30% of Astarta. And now we move to our flagship project. It is the soybean protein concentrate plant, the first production of its kind in Ukraine. The total investment is 76 million euro. Commissioning is expected in the first half of 2026. This is the first Ukrainian project under the law on significant investments. As already Olena Voloshina said, this is the project which was supported by IFC from the very beginning, starting from market and feasibility study, and now by financing. You can see here the main stages of obtaining by us the government support. As soon as requirements and instructions were approved by the government in April last year, we started to prepare the application, which was submitted in July. And in 2 months, we already received all conclusions we need to move further. And during 3 months, starting from application, we signed a special investment agreement with the government. And we spent several months to agree on the list of equipment we imported to Ukraine. And now we already started to receive the support. The total amount of this support is approved in the amount up to 30% of our estimated investments. And this story proves the government's commitment to real investor support. I want to stress one more aspect. On our entire journey of obtaining this support, we were accompanied by a professional team of UkraineInvest. And taking this opportunity, I would like to thank Alexander and his team who are today here with us for their guidance and their strong support of Astarta as an investor.
Okay, so did you finish?
No, I cannot switch to the next slide. I'm sorry. Can you see the photos? No?
No.
Ah, then I have some problems. Oh.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Now, when we look at the construction photo, this is the stage we are already at. Despite the war, the plant is rising. It is living proof that investment in Ukraine is real and working. My message to you now, join us, invest in Ukraine as well. And the last slide here is to show that our role goes beyond business. Since the start of the war, Astarta co-founded the humanitarian project Home and Help Ukraine. Together with partners, we delivered more than 36 million euro of aid, supported more than 500 entrepreneurs, created more than 1,000 jobs, and established resilience centers in our local communities. For investors, this is the proof that capital in Ukraine not only generates returns, but also strengthens communities. And to conclude, Astarta is the example. Ukraine has strong, innovative, and responsible companies that continue to invest and deliver results even in wartime. And my closing message, Ukraine is investable. Join us in building its future. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Lilia. I think Kira left already for another meeting, sorry. So I will take the role of moderator. Thank you, Lilia, very much. And next is Oliver Girlichs. Oliver, are you with us?
Yes.
From Bayer, Ukraine. Yes, you're welcome, Oliver.
Yes, thank you very much. And good morning, good afternoon, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak in this forum. For the sake of time, I keep it short and crisp, but you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Managing Director and CFO of Bayer in Ukraine, and I stay permanently here. I'm also, and that relates to this meeting also, I'm also President of the German Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce, and also board member of EBA, just like Olena, so the biggest Ukrainian business association. So I will be brief, but if you have more questions, please feel free to contact me through LinkedIn, and I'm very happy to help you. We are one of these mysterious investors, like Lilia with Astarta, for example, and we will hear afterwards Coca-Cola. We have been in Ukraine since 1992. And since 2018, we have been operating a seeds plant, mainly for corn. And we had in our plans already for quite some time also to look into export opportunities, which is possible since a couple of years now. So in spring 2022, after the war broke out, we looked at our numbers and at our plans and asked ourselves if, despite the war, we should take that risk or not. And we all together decided to do so. 80% of our investment is done. We are investing 60 million euro in an extension of our seeds plant, partly for the needs in Ukraine and partly for export to the European Union. Again, I will not go into details. Why are we doing it? We are doing it because we are a commercial company and the numbers are very interesting, and it's very interesting for us to do business in Ukraine, to invest right now. If there are potential investors in this call, I can just echo Lilia and other speakers before me. The opportunities are absolutely there. And the decisions are taken now in many areas. Defense, for sure, of course. but you have other areas like agriculture, renewable energy, IT industry, and starting with now reconstruction and infrastructure. So those who think that you can wait until the last bullet is shot and there is a ceasefire or peace agreement, I have to tell you that when you come in at that moment, looking at the dynamics that we see already today in many areas, you will only have some leftovers. Those who are really thinking bold and who think that Ukraine may be a very interesting market, I would urge you take an opportunity with, for example, a delegation that was mentioned very much in the beginning. Get your own view on Ukraine. Come here. You can see that you can do business here. You can have a normal life. Yes, it is interrupted by alarms. You have to take some precautions, but many things are possible. If you wait until after the war, it will be too late. And this is what I also tell my German colleagues and other investors, where I speak on behalf of UkraineInvest or AHK or EBA, because the opportunities are there today. And you see a lot of investors who are today already looking very much into it or have the plans ready or have already started, especially when it comes to, for example, renewable energy, as energy has been hit very hard and decentralized energy is a topic. It is also for Canada a great opportunity to diversify from their dependency on the United States as your neighbor, which, well, you know better than me how the situation is, and uncertainty on that. So for Canada, the opportunity is there now. Canada is welcome. Canada has a good reputation in Ukraine. And again, if you have questions, I think Q&A is skipped for today, but we are investing. We are very happy to do so. And if it was for me, and I was again in spring 22, I would do it again, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you. It's very important to listen about practical experience. And you, as a director of Bayern Ukraine, it's a big international company which continue investing and continue operating in Ukraine. Thank you so much.
Yeah, maybe I would like to add one more point, because I'm once in a while asked about that. There's a question about incompliance and corruption in Ukraine. And just one sentence. I came to Ukraine in 2020, 5 years ago. At that time, Ukraine was at place 127 of the Corruption Perception Index. Today, it's 105. You will not find a lot of countries that in 5 years have improved 22 places. And then asking, especially international business, if they are active in Brazil or in Turkey, most say, yes, we are, and we are very happy. Well, those two countries are standing 2 places behind Ukraine in the corruption index. So this is, in my opinion, a perfect example of Russian disinformation, that Ukraine is so corrupt and nothing is possible. Companies make very good business and are very happy in Brazil and in Turkey as 2 examples, and there are others that are even ranked behind, but not so important markets. Ukraine has a very good tendency. The trend is going into the right direction. So rest assured, it's all on the right track, and most business areas are already today in a very good shape. So even corruption is not the topic that will keep you away from doing correct business in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. Really appreciate. And now our next and last speaker today, Andriy Bublik, Public Affairs and Communication Director for Ukraine and Moldova at Coca-Cola. Andriy, are you here?
Yeah, here I am. Hello from my side. Hello, everyone who survived till the end. I'm the last one, so I'm standing between this great event and the rest of the day for you, probably. Just my pleasure to introduce myself, introduce my company, and I will share my screen to give you a couple of slides. Can you see?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Who we are in Coca-Cola in Ukraine? We are one of the first foreign investments to the country, with almost $500 million investment of direct foreign investment to Ukraine, and employing more than 1,500 people working all over the country. And we were one of the first entities in Ukraine who were hit by the war. And I will give you some smell-like feeling what it meant for us, because from the day one we were in the middle of the military action, and we were to suspend our operations due to the missile attack in the area where our plant is located. Our plant, by the way, is one of the biggest in Europe, is supplying the whole Ukraine, and it was under the occupation for 24 days, and due to the effort of great Ukrainian army, was liberated, and that's what we saw when it was liberated. So our office, our quadra generation plant, they were completely destroyed, and despite all that, in 1 year we relaunched our operations. In 1 month, sorry, we relaunched our operations, coming back on track even in 2022, and almost doubling our business in the last 3 years of the war. Just to give you a feeling that every challenge can be, as we know, also an opportunity. And so, as for now, we know that 2 consecutive years in 24 and 25, we are the biggest taxpayer in the industry in Ukraine. And from FMCG perspective, I can tell you that, yes, Ukraine is a great place to invest. And also, we believe in this market, and we continue investing in rebuilding. And I totally echo Oliver and Lilia saying that opportunities are there despite the war, despite all the challenges we are facing. And not only making business, but also being important, integrated part of Ukrainian community. We already provided $40 million USD to support Ukrainians and our employees, as well as our products. One of the major projects which we deploy over the last 3 years is the supplying of mobile boilers, which are like a container, to heat almost 700,000 square meters of premises of schools, kindergartens. Investing directly here 10 million, as well as we are now finalizing the rebuilding process of the kindergarten in the area of Bogdanivka village of Bogdanivka, close to our plant. By saying this, I'd like to again emphasize that the importance of Ukrainian market for us. We believe in the future, and we are here with Ukraine, stand with Ukraine. We are part of Ukrainian community, and we continue playing an important role where we are. So my pleasure talking to you. In case of any questions, in case of any, again, interest to have more insight about the resilience of Ukrainian businesses and the way how we operate under the conditions, you are more than welcome to address me. It's my LinkedIn profile. Cool. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Andriy. Thank you very much. So we are just, of course, running out of our schedule, but thank you very much for all speakers and audience. I think that today's web conference was very useful for everybody. Unfortunately, we do not have time for questions and answers, but we are ready to answer to any questions in writing. So please write to us. Please contact UkraineInvest on our email, and you will receive full replies to each of your questions. So thank you very, very much once again, and hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.